people can't help you with things they can't do for themselves. When someone sells a service they can't actually perform, one of two things is happening. One, they lack self-awareness. They're not fully really aware of what their talents and skills actually really are. Or two, they're liars. Fortunately, I think most people fall into the first category, if that gives you any hope for humanity. A lot of people I've noticed are called liars when they're actually probably just not aware that there's a discrepancy between what they're doing and what they're saying and that kind of thing. People in helping professions want to be experts. They're usually decent people, if not very caring and empathic, and they want to provide support. And or maybe they're people with this grand vision for a career, and they'll basically do whatever it takes to get that career, right? And to get success in that field. This is a bit of an ulterior motive, right? A true professional will tell you outright, yes, I can help with this, no, I can't help with that, go to someone else to get that. But someone who's really craving that, wealth or status or money, fame, whatever, they're gonna kind of just take all the clients they can get because their ego's running the show and they really just desperately want that recognition or whatever it is that they want. The reality is some people are good at things and others are bad at those things. We need to be conscious of what we're really good at and what our actual talents are. I'm someone who really values expertise. I like a good expert. I like to take my car to a mechanic that I trust and I can see that they have expertise. When I buy products, I like to see that the founders are, operating in a certain way and they're making, the ingredients in a certain way and all that. I like me a good expert. Valuing people's real expertise is a way of seeing them. This is why, you shouldn't take your car to me to get it fixed. And honestly, if you did, it might even be kind of offensive that you took your car to me to get it fixed because it just shows how little you know me, right? So this isn't usually the way people think of this stuff. We kind of just have this economy and it's driven by people doing jobs and people go into different markets based on how much money they think they can make. And from there, things get real sketchy. When I first went to a psychologist, I was a teenager, I was having panic attacks, and I couldn't help but think, wow, I wonder why this guy's a psychologist. He can't really do it. I tried another psychologist, thinking for sure this time I would find the one. And I went to this woman and thought, wow, this woman hates her life, or at least her job, and she has no genuine interest in helping me. Needless to say, I didn't stick with either of these therapies very long, and I saved myself a lot of money, or my parents a lot of money and time, and just wasted effort. But what happens when people don't have this level of discernment? When people spend thousands of dollars seeking help from people who don't have a clue what they uniquely actually need, or worse, these supposed experts talk them out of what they know, creating a gaslight, and the person then replaces what they know intuitively with some textbook jargon that has nothing to do with them. This is how a false healer can really screw you up big time, and I've seen it happen to people. People have told me it's happened to them. In working with people, I've come to realize that most people have been through a lot, way more than I have been through. So why is that relevant here? Well, the unfortunate byproduct of having lots of trauma is having lots of unawareness. We are literally half conscious when we haven't done a lot of shadow work. We are half asleep, split in a million pieces, and most of those parts don't even get any airtime in our minds, so we don't even know they exist. Without a lot of shadow work, people are naturally driven by subconscious traumas, cravings, and assumptions. They can't always discern who to take advice from, who to hire, whose expertise to trust. So how do we solve this problem? We can't nobody can integrate all of their blind spots at once. And really, you shouldn't have to. You should have more support than that. We need to practice discernment, and I mean practice. Don't take this the wrong way, but if any of the following is true for you, you might suffer from poor discernment. You regularly trust people who turn out to be questionable. You are attracted, either romantically or otherwise, to specific types of negative people, e.g., gaslighters, abusers, complainers, swindlers, codependents. Again, this takes a pretty good amount of awareness to even recognize in the first place. People give you great advice, you ignore it, and then a year later realize they were right. You tend to be gullible and believe things before testing them out in your life. You are highly superstitious and chalk every situation up to a higher power or a force outside of you. You are easily swayed by fear-based teachings and primarily act from that place. Now, I know a lot of you guys watching are probably smarty pants, super self-aware, you don't have all of these issues or maybe any of these issues, but if you know someone, you probably know at least a few people who have this trait of lack of discernment. Try to go easy on them. The reality is, they likely had little control over how and why these blind spots developed in them, and they usually have truly no clue about how to stop these negative synchronicities from happening to them. It's like those people who say drama just follows me everywhere, and you're looking at them wondering why can't they see that they're completely complicated and chaotic and they are the drama? That's part of this. So what is discernment, and what are we going for instead of this, trusting false healers, getting taken advantage of, wasting your time on people that simply can't help you, don't have what you need? When we're talking about discernment, we're talking about judgment. I have a tendency to be a tad bit judgmental. It's taken me a while to realize that I'm not simply a bad person. I just have a skill for discernment. And when I'm really feeling maybe not so great, or in the past when it's been very, very underdeveloped, it kind of just expresses as judgment. Honestly, I can spot a bullshitter from a mile away and just sort of write them off before they waste any of my time. However, in the past, when I've wanted something really bad, like a particular outcome, I've actually ignored this really obvious discernment. We can even call it intuition here. Side note, discernment and intuition could be considered the same thing, maybe. So in these situations, my discernment is screaming, don't trust that, something's weird here, and then I've gone ahead with it anyway. So without fail, this desperation to secure something I want always leads me really far astray. So then the first step to discernment is recognizing things that are clouding your judgment. Oftentimes this is just about an unmet need, and you would rather go for getting that need met rather than using your better judgment, because the need is this like desperate craving, and you'll write off your intuition to try to get that met, but it never works. What I really want to drive home here is that discernment is all about feeling, not logic. So this is a common thread that runs through my videos, probably, you may have noticed, but I've watched much smarter people than me do very stupid things, and I could see the whole time it was stupid. Why couldn't they see it? Well, because they weren't feeling their feelings. Maybe they're not feely types, like I said, some people are better at this than others. A lot of smart people, ambitious people, really, mind-centered people, they don't spend a lot of time in their emotions. And so in this sense, they're really not using discernment a lot of the time. They're just using their head to see, they're going on a wild goose chase, basically thinking, what can this get me? I'm looking for fame, I'm looking for money, I'm looking for security, this will get me safety, this will get me noticed. None of that is discernment, right? If they had consulted with how the situation made them feel, either emotionally and or physically in their body, they would have been able to discern that something was off. So this practice of discernment can be applied to anything, obviously, but I especially want to recommend it in regards to healing of any kind. If you're looking for someone to help you heal something physical, something emotional, a mental pattern, anything that is a healing process, get really serious about discerning whether or not the person you're thinking of hiring is a true expert in their field. To give you an idea, here are some people that are true experts in their field. Take in that energy. Wow, they're so smart and all-knowing, and there's just like a halo around their head. Recognize that energy. That's their expertise. That's because they're expressing in an area in which they naturally shine. That's why everyone thinks they're so great. So look at that energy and then compare that to anyone you're considering hiring to help you solve a problem or heal an issue. Don't think about credentials. Anyone can get a slip of paper and pass some quizzes. Don't think about a person's notoriety or how much money they make. Lots of false healers are famous and make a killing off of all the undiscerning people who follow them because they're clamoring for a solution. Remember, like I said, we have unmet needs. We're desperate for these needs to be met, and we'll shell out money to the first person who says that they can solve that problem. Instead, feel into people. How do they make you feel? What types of people do they remind you of? Do you intuitively pick up on anything while they are speaking? For example, a huge ego, ulterior motives, lots of fluff, and no real content in what they're saying, no substance. Keep in mind that if you have these same blind spots, you won't be able to discern these things in them. Another thing I found with working with people is that I have started to notice, and any of you guys who are interested in MBTI or any of that personality typing stuff, like any sort of categorization, even like astrology or like anything that categorizes people, I have started to notice these like personas in people, and it's all based on my own, for whatever reason, like the type of people that I'm attracting, and I've yet to really figure out why I attract certain types of people. That's a whole other story. But I have actually found, all right, this is, you guys are gonna be like, you might not even believe this kind of stuff, but I have attracted certain personas of people, one in particular I'm thinking of, and when I was younger, I attracted the really crazy, chaotic version of them, and then as I got older, I would attract like more and more mature versions of them, and like some of these people, sometimes they would have the same name. They would actually have the same name, and I'd be like, oh, it's another Steve, literally. Sometimes they would work in the same field, or like they'd be interested in the same kind of shit. It would be this progression of, and so I would always think like, okay, what do I need to learn about this next to get the next level of this person? Because a lot of the time, through most of it, they were very sort of like annoying people. Again, there's the judgment. But I started to realize that it was this theme. It was this type of person who kept like bumping into me. And the more I would learn and mature myself, I guess, the more I would meet, more and more sort of conscious versions of that person. So yeah, that's perhaps a story for another video, and I might do a whole video on personas now that I'm talking about it, because that's the whole thing. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm trying to aim to do kind of like my last video, like shorter, more concise videos. This one was a little bit longer, and a little bit more of a rambly video. But I'm gonna go back and forth. I want to do more of the short, concise ones, and people seem to like that, so stay tuned. Feel free to subscribe, check out the newsletter, check out the workbook, and I'll see you next time.